You ultimately have to understand who you are. What are the strengths we're bringing to the table? You're going to start to create some really magical stuff. Be bold, be confident, and be you.
Marketing, like a symphony, is a harmonious blend of instruments. But without the proper direction, it's just noise. Welcome to the Supply Chain Marketing Show, presented by Supply Chain Brain Media. From the art of storytelling to the science of data, we'll uncover marketing strategies that drive success. In this episode, Ralph Henderson and Courtney Turich will reveal what every supply chain marketing professional needs to live by. And now, here's your marketing guide and host, Ralph Henderson.
The Shark Tank and the supply chain, I think they go together. Hi, I'm Ralph Henderson. I am your host and guide of the Supply Chain Marketing Show, where we bring all things marketing to the supply chain marketing professional. Things like branding, lead generation, online strategy, content development, and even earned media. Today, we're going to be talking to a person who was actually on Shark Tank. She's made deals with those folks. And I can tell you, as somebody who is a fan of the show, that is powerful. We're also going to talk about all things marketing today. Most importantly, how does the supply chain marketing professional determine what they can do to be successful for the next 12 months? We want the next year to be your best year ever. And so what we're going to do is we're going to bring you people that are going to help you to do that, encourage you to do that, even challenge you to do that. But no, we mean well. We're coming at it with a good heart, and we want you to be successful. Certainly, by all means, let us know if you have any questions, reach out if you have any ideas, and we look forward to you and your success. Today, we have Courtney Turich. Courtney is a fast-paced, very energetic, very exciting, but very professional and successful person for self-branding, communication, marketing, and those things that I think will help inspire and encourage you. Courtney has this adventurous spirit. I know that when I met her, the first thing I picked up on was her adventurous spirit. She's also got 20 years of experience, get this, in the medical device and the healthcare industry. So, if you can be successful in those areas, you can definitely be successful in other areas. And with that, we bring on Courtney. Courtney, welcome to the show.
Hello, Ralph. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here.
No, my pleasure. Courtney, one of the reasons I wanted you to come on is because I love your spirit, but more importantly, I love how you channel what you do and are successful and have that professional milieu about you. So maybe talk to the audience for a minute about, encouraging them with who they are and where they're going and what we're trying to do, just from a philosophical perspective to kind of set the stage.
For sure. So, Ralph, something I've learned throughout the years in my professional life is that you ultimately have to understand who you are as a person first and foremost. I don't know about you, but it's taken me a while to discover that. And when I did start to unleash that inner boldness, that inner confidence, my true self ended up coming to the surface. And with that, guess what? My authenticity and my realness started to show through. And I really, in my mind, became unstoppable in many ways.
I love that. And I love the unstoppable. And one of the things I love about how we do what we do in the supply chain space is we are empowered, if you will, to enhance our brands and to enhance our communication. I think sometimes what happens is we just get lost in the tactical stuff. For example, I know in the supply chain space, I think, really good at trade shows. I think we do a really nice job overall in preparing for them and setting them up and even producing them. I really do. I think where we fall down a little bit is how they're attached to everything else we're doing, or maybe how that is tactical, and maybe maybe that's the nature of the beast in the supply chain space because we are so tactical. And what I mean by that is hands-on, kinesthetic, and so trade shows just, they're kind of part of our chemistry. But as you know, there's other things. And so how would you encourage people to think about and execute other things other than trade shows?
Wow. Okay. Really good question here. And I'm going to backtrack a little, Ralph. And reason being, I want to start with the person who's leading first, that marketing person, whoever's getting the vision together for that trade show. And I say that because I think it's really important and something, again, that we forget, and that's identifying what are the strengths we're bringing to the table first, right? Because if we don't know what our personal strengths are, then we really don't know what direction to go into. We could be spinning our wheels in many ways because we're going down a path that doesn't really highlight our ability to catapult our business or ourselves to the next level. Right.
I like it.
So I want to challenge everybody first. I'm a huge believer in the Gallup Strength Finder. Reason being, it's super simple. We've all taken personality tests and this and that, and they're real elaborate, these long, lists of this and the other of how we should be. The Gallup Strength Finder is going to tell us what our top 5 strengths, 5 words are. And I want you to take those 5 words for yourself, and that's all I want you to focus on. I want you to read them in depth, and then I want you to see how they're applying to your everyday life. Because guess what? If you can surround yourself with people who bring strengths outside of yours and you come together, you're going to start to create some really magical stuff.
Yeah, and as somebody who's actually gone through that, Courtney, I completely agree. And also as somebody who is a lot older than most of the people watching and listening to this show, I will tell you that that hasn't always been the case. There was a time decades ago where we would actually focus on people's weaknesses and we would try to
Yes.
get them to be stronger in their weaknesses. It wasn't until, like I said, just a few decades ago, somebody decided to say, hey, you know what? Maybe instead of that, we start to focus on their strengths and then we get people together who have different strengths. And oh my goodness, what an explosion of innovation, production, and creativity we had. So that's a really good, I think, direction for the people who are listening and watching. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is last year we did the summit with the supply chain brain folks, and we came up with the 5 different areas in marketing for the supply chain marketing professional. And we're talking about things like branding and lead generation and content development, and online strategy and earned media. And one of the things I think we're uncovering and that we talked about at the show is people tend to focus on one thing more often than not, lead generation. But
Right.
maybe you can help the audience to understand how these things come together. And especially since you were on Shark Tank and you went through that process. I mean, obviously, that was something you had to make sure you had all of your ducks in a row in all of these areas. What would you say to our listener or our viewer about that and how that's all connected?
So, Ralph, lead generation is critical, right, for anything we do. But anymore in this world of conformity, we have to have every pillar that you just shared to actually catapult our brand and ourselves to that next level. Just lead generating is not enough. Everybody's getting an email blast. Everybody's seeing an ad. You know what? We've been inundated a lot. So, how are other ways we can stand out from our branding? What makes us unique? Do we truly know what makes us unique as a company or even ourselves? I'm going to tell you to not only know about what your brand does unique, but you've got to know how you're unique inside too. Because again, that gives you the strength and the power to make those bold decisions to take the company even to the next level. It all starts with you first to get to all those components that you just shared, Ralph.
I love it. And let's touch on that. Let's build on that. So how
Sure.
do we empower these folks to communicate with the people that they're working with and that they're working for going into these next 12 months to make who they are as an organization and what they do as a product or a service more well known. I find in other industries, for example, the NFL, where I work, a lot in entertainment, in professional entertainment, in working with people who do, music and entertainment. I find these people kind of have a better handle on what that looks like as it relates to how I invest in it, time, money, and effort. And yet, when we get into the supply chain space, I don't know if it's a belief, like, do I not believe in myself? Do I not believe in the product or service? Or what would you say to the person these people are working for going forward in helping and investing in this so that we can be successful and more well known?
So, Ralph, what I'm hearing you say, first and foremost, are these individuals need to be confident in their thought process and their decision. So, you have to be confident in yourself to be able to bring those bold ideas to your leadership team. Right. And so, again, going back to this is so layered is understanding who you are as a person, believing in yourself first, right? What makes you unique? What I want you to also think about a question that a lot of people can't answer. And what are your top 3 accomplishments that you've had in life? Write them down, right? And then what drives you on a daily basis, as well as those strengths we defined. I want you to put that in, I'll say a Google Doc. That's where I keep mine. So before I go into any big meeting or an interview, wherever I just need to stand my ground and keep my head up high, I'll review that and remind myself what I've done, where I've been, what I've accomplished. And that gives me the power to be bold when I go ask for a change or a new vision I have.
We'll be back after this brief message.
In today's complex supply chain, marketing has never been more critical. But are you leveraging the full potential of your marketing efforts? Supply Chain Brain Media created 2 resources to help you discover what's new and what works. The Supply Chain Marketing Group series is designed to educate you on services and how to implement them into your marketing program. On the Supply Chain Marketing Show, hear firsthand how experts are implementing the elements from the 5 rings of supply chain marketing to drive results. Ready to elevate your marketing game? Schedule a 30-minute consult today. Email Morgan at supplychainbrainmedia.com. Supply Chain Brain Media, your guide to marketing success.
And now back to our show.
And now let's talk about one of the things that connected you and I initially. And I just love the story. And I'll let people go online. You did a really nice video of when we met on an airplane, by the way, folks. And we had a conversation. And in that conversation, I explained to Courtney my philosophy on Cleasy. And for those of you who aren't aware, Cleasy is something I've been talking about for almost as long as I have been in this industry. And that is the crossroad between classy and cheesy. And one of the things I think in the business to consumer space, they have embraced that. If you look at some of the mascots, if you look at some of the marketing, look, you might want to look down your nose at this stuff. I know for sure because I was actually part of an event where she spoke. The lady who came up with the idea for the Aflac duck was actually thrown out of the room the first time she talked to the people about that. And everyone knows what happened with that. Well, wasn't it interesting that once that became something that became well known, then all of a sudden you started seeing the same industry doing different things. And I know all of you can think of, what I'm talking about. So Courtney, you really embraced that term. And I want you to help the audience also embrace it. I'm not trying to get anyone fired here or thrown out of a boardroom, but at the same time, I do think we need to stop taking ourselves so seriously and maybe look at what we can do. To your point, if I'm confident and I believe in me and I know who I am, well, now all of a sudden I might be able to put something together and get that out there so that it's more well known. What would you say to this audience, and how did that affect you, and why did it resonate with you?
Sure. Ralph, so just so the audience knows, when we first met on the airplane, I typically don't talk to someone on the airplane just because I'm ready, I'm tired. But for some reason, I was drawn to talk to Ralph, and we ended up having just a fantastic conversation. And when he shared with me Cleasy, it resonated to my core. And when I started to share my brand on LinkedIn, I told myself, we're all out here being robots, but that's not real life. It's not the real person. It's not the real me. And when you start to look at people that you're drawn to, it's authenticity. I wanted to share my voice. And when I put myself out there, I said, if I'm going to do it, I have to do it as my true self because that's what I want to be. I'm not trying to pretend something I'm not. So with that, when he said Cleasy, if you look at my LinkedIn account, I am that person. I'm not afraid to shake my hands, move a little. At the same time, I know how to have fun, but I have a very serious side. I know when to pull it in. What this allows me to do is build a trusting connection with others, but also the ability to gain respect and rapport.
Yeah, no, and I would love for you to expound on that because, we've already done a show with the supply chain marketing show that talks about trust. And believe it or not, the theme of that show was playful activity in the business to business space. So here now we have somebody who's actually doing that. And I loved how you said, you can have fun, you can wave your hands, you can do things. And what you're doing in the marketing sense is attracting people but you also understand that there is a professional side of it. I think sometimes we get into this mutually exclusive either or versus this really creative both and. I would love every supply chain marketing professional to have to take courses in how they can be more creative, more innovative, and even spontaneous. And so I would just ask you to maybe expound on that as it relates to the classy and the cheesy and how you marry those things.
Yes. So how to marry those things, in my opinion, right, is when your friends visualize you, how do they envision you? It's another great exercise. Go ask them what words describe, like say, hey, what words come to mind when you think of me? Jot them down on paper, right? And one of those for me was fun, kind, funny. I never used to think of myself as funny. And when I started to really embody that, it comes out. And what I also give the ability when I'm just myself, I get into people's hearts, I get into people's souls because they're feeling it inside. They're just not sure how to do it.
No,
So,
I get it. Yeah. And,
right?
and, and one of the things, you know what, I would love to take an improv class with you.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Ralph, both of us in an improv class might be a really good experience.
I think that would be great. And I think we should all do it together. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say that's one of the nuggets from this show is that we need to encourage people to take an improv class. And when you do, we want to know about it. Either film it, record it, get somebody to let us know about how did it go? What did you learn? What came out of it? Because one of the things I think as supply chain marketing people is that we do tend to have a little bit more of that, methodical, almost educational, informational kind of bent to us. And again, folks, it's not an either or thing. We need all of those things. To Courtney's point, that is something that's important. But we also need that extemporaneous, that, serendipitous, that, just fun, innovative, creative, out of the blue, if you will, kind of thing as well. So now let's talk about how you apply those different things that I showed earlier, because you do have a brand, you do have content. You are online. You'd have that online. People do talk about you. You have people who want to lift you up, edify you, and let other people know about you. And I'm convinced if we have all of that, the lead gen, I don't want to say it's a total byproduct, but it should be more of a byproduct than it is the focus if we're truly going to be successful. So how do you do that, and how would you encourage other people as far as how do you dance that dance between those five rings?
Right. Ralph, I do believe you're right that the lead generation will come if you're doing the other components. And here's what I mean by that. So, my brand online is be bold, be confident, be you. So, everything I do, every video I do, every post I do always circles back to be bold, be confident, be you. Why is that? I want people to resonate with that is what I bring to the table. If they are looking for that, they come to me to search that. So, I used to hear about people, oh, I'm getting so many direct messages about, needing my business, this and that and the other. It takes time. This is all about consistency. Just because you come up with your brand identity and you start putting yourself out there, you're doing all this PR, you've got SEO, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm.
I've been doing this now on LinkedIn for 3 years. It took me a while to get niche down to the be bold, be confident, be you. But now that I'm there and I've been consistent now over a year with that, my DMs are just, they go crazy. Almost, I can't keep up with it. Just the people wanting to know more. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And that's, Ralph, you hit a light bulb for me. That's exactly what has transpired
Right.
is the lead
Yeah,
generation is naturally happening.
and Courtney, this is gold, folks. If you're listening to this or watching this, rewind back 60 seconds and start listening again, because what Courtney was talking about is she started 3 years ago. She was morphing this message. She found out a year ago, be bold, be confident, be you became her niche. And remember, I believe the narrower your niche, the wider your market. And for my European friends, that would be niche. So just so you know, I want to make sure everybody knows you're included. But the narrower that is, the wider, I think, Courtney, sometimes what happens is we have this fear of missing out in marketing, where we have these supply chain marketing professionals thinking they have to be all things to all people. And what you just said is absolute gold. We have to find out what is that niche, go after that niche. Because I believe if we become the famous supplier provider of whatever that niche is, we'll have more business than we know what to do with. So help us now with what you've uncovered with that, and where do you see it going forward? Like, what's your vision?
What's my vision? So, I really started sharing my voice just because I wanted to lift people up and I wanted them to understand who they are at the core, at their own core. Because when I uncovered that for myself, new doors started opening up. I'm in the med tech industry still. I am a leader in this space. So I do this more as just helping others to really elevate their game and challenge them on a daily basis. Ralph.
I think that's great. And that's one of the reasons I wanted you to be on the show. I love that we wrapped with that, is that you really are, from a philanthropic perspective, giving back. You've been through quite a bit, you've experienced quite a bit, and now what you're doing is you're helping others by encouraging them. And I mean, obviously, your be bold, be confident, be you message. I mean, I got chills when I heard that the first time you told me that, because that, I think, for the supply chain marketing professional, folks, if you can, just for the next 2 to 4 weeks, think about what that means to you, and then think about how you can apply that for what you're doing so that your next 12 months truly can be your best year ever. Courtney, any final words of wisdom for our audience?
Sure. Yes. Something I do want to touch on is don't underestimate your intuition.
Mm.
Your intuition is powerful. So follow that and know when you get uncomfortable, it's going to feel uneasy. And you've got to push through that feeling of uncomfort because that means you're growing and you're getting ready to have and make a big change. And then pay attention. You all have emotional intelligence. If you don't, look into it because that is also something really, really powerful. So I ask you to go do the work on yourself because if you don't start with yourself, you're not going to help anyone else.
Mm.
And I'm going to walk away and say, be bold, be confident, and be you.
Excellent. And I thank you so much for being here. You're such an inspiration. You're fun, you're professional, you're articulate. I think a lot of people will benefit from hearing and seeing you, but also getting to know you. And I would encourage you to reach out to Courtney, say hi for sure. You can find her on LinkedIn. We'll certainly give you guys the information on that. Because remember, supply chain marketing professionals, it's really important for us to believe in ourselves. And Courtney, thank you so much for the encouragement.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me, Ralph. Always great to see you. Thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. Stay cleasy.
I'll stay cleasy all day long, Ralph.
To discover how you can blend your marketing instruments into a harmonious sound and rise above the noise, schedule a 30-minute consultative session. Email morgan@supplychainbrainmedia.com. Again, that email address is morgan@supplychainbrainmedia.com. If you have any questions or episode suggestions, you can send those to morgan@supplychainbrainmedia.com. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Supply Chain Marketing Show presented by Supply Chain Brain Media. This is an omni-channel production in conjunction with PWE Media.